This is day 5 of the Titan Takeover event that has started in the game. So I'm going to record a couple of my runs just to see what I can come up with. I've got kind of focusing on strikers, so everybody you see in the second position here will be people that you have seen before. And I'm recording this one live, so I've got all sorts of stuff all over the screen. Hanging out on Twitch. So you'll see Twitch chat hopefully pop up every once in a while as well. I'm interested in DDP here to see how well he does, kind of taking advantage and leaning into the Hall of Fame link to kind of reduce the amount of MP that they need. And by reducing the amount of MP that they need, you can kind of crank up the gym damage that you've got here. And we're also going to try to abuse the countdown gym mechanic that seems to be working pretty funky in this game mode. So really, we're going to hit this once, the running swinging neckbreaker, deal 225,000 damage, increase your red gym damage by 211% for 2 turns. If this is maxed out, this obviously goes up. And then the flying clothesline, deal 400,000 damage and make 35 randos into 1-turn countdowns. That'll deal 340,000 damage and make 3 randos into red gems at the end of the countdown. And for some reason, when you drop a countdown, it kind of just goes off, right? So here's making the 35 countdown gems, and they should all pop immediately. I do have a red Royal Rumble plate on here and a Z plate. So the Z plate, every time I throw countdowns, I'm going to get a gym damage buff, and then every time the board breaks, it's going to break again. And I think instead of messing with this too many times, I'm just going to keep clicking this. And kind of keeping an eye on what's happening up here. Which turns out to be what is that, 80 million every time I click this button? If this goes to 247, 08, 07, something like that. 97, that's what I meant to say. $96, yeah, so it is roughly doing 80 million per. Times 4, it's 320 million per cycle. With 1 buff. So if we get this reloaded again, I may actually spend an action. That thing happened where I pressed a button and then the Royal Rumble plate went off twice. It's the second time I've seen that tonight. I haven't been able to explain why that happens, but I've seen it twice. The emulator does not like this whatsoever. That was a full 100 million. Okay. I don't think this is a terrible idea. I don't think Hall of Fame DDP is necessarily the worst card to use whenever you need to use a striker. I don't think I'm going to go to him as one of my second cards where you get to choose anybody. But for when I have to use a striker, I'm not necessarily upset at this. Interestingly enough, when you cycle through turns, you keep your countdown gems, and then they all pop at the beginning of your turn again. And that did not trigger. So going through the turn didn't trigger the rumble plate. Huh. So if I click this buff move, it will it trigger the rumble plate? It will not. Weird. I can't figure out why I'm getting double rumble plate activations out of nowhere. Come on, buddy. Okay. I think there's a chance that DDP here does right at 1 billion damage. The perk of being a CC, having my emulator die, or the rumble plates just popping off at random sometimes. I think it's just the game intentionally screwing with me. So everything goes off. Rumble plate goes off. I'm still in danger. Is this going to hit him? I guess it does. And then I tag out. Okay. So that functionally worked the same way. It just looked a little weird. That's strange. Yeah, Chuck, I don't know either. I can't. Like I said, this is the second time we've seen it tonight, and I can't quite figure out what's triggering it. But it was consistent on Jey Uso. Trayvon, which two strikers did you have that do really well? Share with the class. I wonder if there's a limit, like a numerical limit of when you should. So, like, I could theoretically be bouncing back and forth between the buffs and the blowing up the board. Gut instinct's telling me that blowing up the board is more important than hitting the buff. Like, hit it once, but don't bounce back and forth. But I wonder if there's a limit to that. Like, if the buff is this amount, then it is better than blowing up the board. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure there is a limit. Kind of like the when should you use a generic zombie versus Seth and Nardo. Like there's theoretically a limit when you use a switch between the two of them. It's just really hard to figure out. And for what I've seen so far tonight, or, in my 1 week of experience with the mode, some of the best cards to use for this are the ones that do just kind of blow everything up, get a little bit of a buff going, and then just break as many gems as possible. Fritz OTC Roman has been doing well. He kind of does well everywhere, though, right? When is Sherry or Mosh better? There's no hard or fast rule. There's no hard or fast rule about when Sherry or Mosh is better. Sherry is better if it is not a random amount of multiply gems going out. I can tell you that. On my channel, I've got a video going over Sherry or Mosh, like when you should use one over the other, and some guidelines of when to make that decision. It's in my multiply gem fundamental series, if you want to check my YouTube channel and find it. No weird activations of the yellow rumble. Oh, just making another example. I appreciate it. It gave me a very smooth segue for some slimy self-promotion. The problem is a lot of the stuff that I've figured out is all on notes. It's either recorded somewhere or it's on notes. And I have a stack of paper in my office that has all of my notes on it. Not really a ton to talk about here, though. It's Hall of Fame Goldberg. You're just blowing stuff up. Just using this one move. With a rumble attached to it. I think it's a rumble and a maze crown that I've got on this particular Goldberg. This game mode has absolutely wiped me out of plate currency, though. I don't know. The concept of self-promotion is very weird to me. Oh, I thought the game had frozen up on me right there. All right, last one. Hall of Fame Goldberg is one of those cards. So if anybody hasn't checked out Two Bob's video on where he did a cycle like this on Striker Day, where the opponent was a striker, just a touch under 2 billion. Little disappointing with Goldberg here. Snowfall Plate would really help me out. Snowfall Plate pushes him over a billion, I'm sure. 1.06 billion for Hall of Fame DDP is fantastic, though. That is not what I was expecting at all, and I am super happy with that. So we'll take it. 1.06 billion out of Hall of Fame DDP puts me at just a touch under 2 billion. Change my channel to Slimy Numbers. Maybe. What was I saying? Oh, if anybody hasn't checked out Tupob's video where he was facing the Striker Titan, he has a Hype 4 Hall of Fame Rey Mysterio. And Hype 4 actually soaks up Titan damage enough that you can live through the big hit of the Titan. Like, you can essentially take another set of 15 actions. And And maybe not all 15 because, you know, he does do some damage to chip away at it. But you guys should go check that video out. I'll link it into the description of this video so you guys can check it out. Tubob's been absolutely at the forefront of figuring out a lot of the nooks and crannies of this. Strong recommend that you go watch everything he's put out about Titans for sure. All right, so for the next run here, I want to try out this Steve Austin. Now, I'm a little hamstrung with this Steve Austin because I don't have the Leech multiply plate. So I'm not exactly sure which is going to be the best way. So I'm going to run it two different ways and track. You lived with Showboat Rey Mysterio Hype 3? Right on, Fritz. So yeah, the hype defense does affect the Titan, which is super nice, and maybe a way to eke some more damage out of the card that you're using. What was I saying? Oh, I'm going to run this a couple of different ways. One turn, the first turn, I'm just going to hit the Leapfrog Body Guillotine. 25 randos and Elite Gems of strength 662,000. This right here is the damage that I'm most interested in. And then hit him with a Spine Buster, 39 randos into yellow. I am all yellow gem damage here, or rainbow gem damage. And then I needed 4 yellow MP to get loaded. So the first time through, it's going to be 1 leeches to trigger the plate, and then just the Spine Buster. I don't think this is going to be very good though. And then I'm just going to cycle through and try to trigger this twice. And see if there's any significant damage change. I do have all the moments, but not all of them are maxed out. And I'm not going to take too much time going over there. And then in position 2, I'm going to use Hip Hop Cena, who does just fine. That's really all I can say there is he does just fine. The Hype 2 really helps him out. So let's get in match, and then let's figure out what we can figure out. I'm thinking that throwing out leeches multiple times is going to be better than not. Just because the leech gems at 600k they're pretty nice. Back of the napkin math. This will trigger the leech plate. Give me some yellow gem damage. And then we're just going to click this button 4 times. So here's number 2. Number 3. It's already looking a little rough here. I'm not too stoked about this one. I guess it could be worse. Again, if the goal is to just get 1 billion out of every character, you really only need to do about 333 million per turn. So where do we get to here? 244.05. 05. That's 180 million. That ain't it. That ain't it. All right, so let's do this then. Let's double proc. So instead of hitting this yellow move again, we're going to hit the leech gems. Let's check something real quick. Now that we've procced the plate twice. That was better. 709,000. Yeah, so like if you have a leech on it, it's essentially doubling that. I feel like this was the way to go. No. No, it turns out it's not. I really need that leech multiply plate. I think to do anything significant here, we're going to end up just shy of what 500 million for this round. And that's just not enough. I mean, I got to be honest, getting $1 million per card is barely enough. Once you start getting into tier 5s and you're looking to get, because the way it's going to work, like once everybody gets 3 energy, you're going to need to, do 200 million or something like that for tier 3 to get hype coins, which is fine. That'll be relatively easy. Then you'll have to get to like 1.75, 1.85 billion on tier 4 to get the loot coins there. And then you're going to need to do 4 billion. So you're basically going to have to do 4 billion in 1 energy in order to get to the platinum chest. So that turns these billion cards into a little bit of a liability once you start focusing on tier 5s and trying to get the platinum chest. For the purposes of unlocking tier 5, for many of us, $1 billion per card is just fine and absolutely what we should be focusing on, especially while we still have 5 energy to play around with. Did I just screw that up? I did. Run on my mouth. Seeing here is the same kind of idea. Is this 51.4 gets doubled when you use this move. Increase your green move damage by 100% for a turn. So this jumps up to about 102.8 million damage. And then you paint the board green. You could do this again, but you're only adding 500 million to the finisher. Or you could just hit the finisher, right, and get 100 million. So if you hit this and then the finisher 4 times, you're at 400 million. Or you could hit this, hit the finisher for 100 million, hit this again. Maybe it is better that way. That's why I have the calculator open, 243.76. I think I had this labbed out. Maybe it was with the black move. Well, we'll find out. This will be with 4 finishers at 102 million apiece. And then we hit the second finisher. Oh, don't fail me now. Okay. My poor 7-year-old, maybe 8-year-old Walmart desktop computer struggles with champions. All right. One more again. All right. So that was 560 million. And then 243.2. And let's try this with the buff twice. Hey, Smiles. Yeah, if you have this Hip Hop Cena, you absolutely need to work him up. He is awesome. He's one of my favorite cards. He can be put into feuds. He can put in the showdowns. You don't need MP trainers for him. You really only have to worry about a handful of reversals. I love this card. So we're going to buff the move again. And then one more again. That was 570 million. All right. So it turned out to be 6 one way, half dozen the other. I don't think there's a class rebuff going on here. I've never been able to definitively find a class disadvantage other than move order. Oh, I guess I haven't tested that out. I guess with hype. Because the Titan does have one hype level, and I've got two. So yeah, if he has class advantage, my hype bonus, instead of being a full one, is more like a half, which isn't the true numbers behind it, but for the purposes of this, we're fine. I guess technically this was a little bit stronger, so we'll do that. This is for sure not the type of run that I was looking for, though. Wasn't very confident in my Austin as it sat in the first place, but, well, now we know. And that's it. That is the end of both of my runs for today. Let's see how we did. We did better than the last one. Yeah, this won't good. 1.69 though. That'll play. 2.1. Added with the previous one of 1.9. That puts me at 4 billion with 2 energy. Testing out my strikers here. So we'll take it. As always, if you've learned anything today, if you've been entertained by anything today, or if you just like the sound of my voice, do me a favor, click like, click subscribe, share to your faction mates, and I'll talk to you next time. Late.